There was a time where Herpa was bold and they tried out new things. Did it always pay off? Certainly not, but at least they did the attempt. So let's together go back to the year 2006-2007 because this model is to this day still worth a look. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 747-400ERF of Air France or Air France Cargo. At the front of the box we have an image of the aircraft in real life superimposed on a white background, and we have the Air France branding. The backside of the box then offers us another lovely image with the aircraft in the open nose configuration, and we have the original dimensions of the aircraft specified. And here she is, the Boeing 747-400ERF in a former standard livery of Air France Cargo. And as you can see, this is an aircraft model which is a little bit different than the many other Herpa models, because this one has, for example, the open nose and also an open cargo door in the back. And we will go into all these details throughout the video. But as always, we simply start a tour around the aircraft model with a look at the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer have the Air France branding. Incorporated into the thick blue line, we then have the flag of the European Union. On the fuselage, we then have the full registration code of the aircraft, and towards the very tail of the aircraft, we have a bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. But if we quickly move back to the fuselage, we can see we of course also have the main cargo hatch, which is in an open configuration. Now it is important to note that this cannot be changed. The door is fixed in its position, but Herpa has made other similar aircraft models where the door is in a closed configuration, however not with the Air France branding. Now, if we move to the front of the aircraft and look across the fuselage, we can see the writing of Air France Cargo. We also have the aircraft type specification, a few SkyTeam logos, as well as the Air France KLM group logo. But we also find, rather unusual for Herpa Wings, for example, there's a little safety marking just above the 3 cabin windows. And this will not be the only place where we find some, for Herpa, rather unusual amounts of detailing. But let's focus on the cockpit section itself for now. Here we of course have the cockpit windows with no window wipers, unfortunately, but we do have the emergency hatch for the cockpit printed on just above. The main feature here is of course that you can open the nose, and in this case you can actually decide whether you want to have the nose in a closed or an open configuration, and the piece will always stick to the fuselage, so it's not removable as in newer iterations of Herpa models that are kind of interactive. It is however important to say here that the aircraft definitely looks the best when the nose is in the open configuration, as it looks a little bit wonky in the nose closed configuration, at least in my opinion. But let's move on for now and take a look at the engine nacelles. They have been kept in all white, just as most of the fuselage, but do have the silver leading edge printed on, the retro logo of Air France, and very importantly and rather surprisingly, some safety markings. This is extremely unusual for such an old Herpa Wings model. The physical detailing, however, does show the age of the model. It's not quite as refined as with newer Herpa Wings models, but I still think that it is quite alright. If we then take a quick look at the wings, we can start off with the top side. Here we can see the different flap slats and spoilers have been carved out quite nicely, and we have some different shades of grey for additional detailing. The underside of the wings offers us more nice physical detailing, and here we also find the full registration code of the aircraft once again. Of course, the 747 also has these lovely winglets, which I think Herpa has also replicated quite alright. Then we can also take a quick look at the landing gear. This is the former standard landing gear that Herpa used to add to their 747s. This is entirely made out of plastic. With more current iterations of the 747, this has of course been shifted over to metal landing gear. But I think actually this looks pretty alright, and especially lovely is the fact that we actually do have a printed detail at the front landing gear. And then last but certainly not least, we do of course also have the remaining doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft, and also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 747-400ERF in the former standard livery of Air France Cargo from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Herpa models are normally predominantly made out of metal, but this aircraft model is entirely made out of plastic. The reason is of course quite simple. This was the easiest way for Herpa back in the day to make the model interactive. This is however also the reason why this and similar models like this back in the day were quite unpopular with collectors. And I kind of understand it as a collector. When I look at the model today with this much untreated white plastic, I get really nervous because untreated white plastic from Herpa Wings often has the tendency to start yellowing. On the other hand, when you look at the model, it clearly hasn't yellowed, and back in the day at least it was probably the only way Herpa could make the model interactive. And that alone is actually quite lovely. Now it's not that I need or even want all my aircraft models to be interactive, but at least to have a few of them is actually quite nice. But what actually has surprised me the most on this aircraft model is the amount of printed detailing that we have, which supersedes the amount of detailing we get on aircraft models from Herpa Wings released in 2023. The safety markings on the engines, that's a detail that Herpa only declared as a standard detail in 2021. The safety marking on the fuselage is a detail that we to this day don't have as a standard. And let's not talk about the printed detail on the front landing gear, which is a detail we don't even get as a standard with club models. So in conclusion, what we have here is a really surprising and quite awesome aircraft model from Herpa Wings. And I really hope that Herpa will take a look at this and perhaps give it another go in the future with interactive models like this. Now with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and of course if you are new around here, why not hit subscribe. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.